So we're going to make a value scale right here at the bottom. Now I have my paper vertically. Remember the value scale that we did last year from 0 to 6, right? We're going to do the same. And you're going to use this as a reference so that when you draw your portrait, you can refer to that value scale. If you want to know how tall I made this, let's see, it's like half an inch or a little over. It's like 3/4 of an inch, but it can be half an inch if you want a specific um, number, right? So go ahead and make a rectangle, and then you're going to divide it into 7 spaces. So like every, I don't know, half inch, you can divide it. So just make it as even as you can. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. Again, you don't have to like make it or measure it perfectly, just so that you have 7 square or rectangles, small ones, spread out evenly. And then again, you're just going to use a ruler to have a nice straight edge. All right. So make those rectangles. If they're boxes, that's fine too. So you're going to be referring to this value scale throughout your drawing of your portrait. Okay. And that, I'm just going to have you hang back for a little bit. Okay. I'll wait for a little bit for people to be able to do again, you're making 7 of these spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you are going to label it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right? Now, what is the 0 typically on your value scale? You guys remember what the 0 is? Solid white. Thank you, Emily. Matthew, you are not doing this. You're holding off. Let me finish this, and then I'm going to talk to you, Sam, and Nat after. Okay. So 0 is solid white, the white of the paper. Right. What is 6? What is solid black? Yeah. So let's go ahead and start with solid black. So just take your pencil and fill that in solid black. All right. Now, if you're using a mechanical pencil, be mindful that that mechanical pencil can scar your paper, meaning can start carving into your paper. Okay. Actually, Nat, Sam, and Matthew, while I'm doing this, I want you to go over to your Canvas page for Art 3 and Art 4. And I want you to look at this, the value scale and transitions when blending. And then look over that assignment and then start watching the video that I put on there. And then I'll check in with you when I'm done with Art 2. Okay, so fill this in solid black. Nat, Sam, and Matthew, did you guys hear that? Okay. Nat and Sam, what about you two? So again, this is solid black. So fill it in. Now, if you have the other pencil, so right now I'm just using an HB pencil, right? If you have one of the B pencils, like a 4B or a 6B, by all means, go ahead and use that. And you'll see, so you can already tell the difference between my I'm using a 4B right now, and compare that to the HB pencil. All right. So this 6 should be way darker than if you're using an HB pencil. Some of you, maybe if you sharpen it a little bit more, if you only have an HB pencil, that's fine. But I wanted to show you something a little more solid black. Those of you that need the other pencils, if you need them for your drawing, it'll make your life way easier. I can leave them at the front office for you. You just have to let me know, as well as stumps, right? Okay, so all we're doing now is going down towards the 0. Now, I have a heavy hand, so that's why I start with the 6. And sometimes I go back and forth, so then I'm going to just lightly put a little bit of value here with my pencil, and then take the stump and just add a little bit of or actually even the tissue paper, because some of you guys may not have a stump, and blend that and fade it in, right? It's super faint though. You can kind of see it on the screen, right? You see how the solid white is more white than this one, right? And then slowly start adding it. Yes, Emily, do you want to pick it up today or tomorrow? Okay. Do you need any pencils? Okay. I will give you an HB, 4B, and one of the H pencils. Okay. Now, when you're shading, the other thing I wanted to remind you all of is the movement of your pencil. So right now, this isn't smooth, right? You can see the lines. So that is where the tissue paper or stump come into play. So I'm going to use the tissue paper right now, right? When we're shading, the whole goal of shading is to blend and have those smooth, gradual changes from light to dark. Yes, Elise. Do you need a stump too, Elise? Okay. Anybody else? Yadira, okay. And I'll leave them in Ziploc bags with your names on it at the front office. And then if you need paper, like you definitely for your portrait, do not use photocopy paper. If you use photocopy paper for your portrait, um, it will not be easy to shade with or on. So that's why you want to use a little thicker paper. Like in your sketchbook paper typically is better. So definitely draw it in your sketchbook as opposed to your photocopy paper. All right. Okay, so just move down the numbers and getting lighter each time. You should also be using the stump slash tissue paper to blend and get rid of the lines like I've been doing. All right. I like to start with the HB pencil first. And then if I need to make it darker, then I'll go and grab the B pencil. All right. So I went over the pencil scale last year in regards to what's light and what's dark. I'm going to briefly go over that as well in a bit, just so that everyone's on the same page in regards to the pencils. and what each one does. I'm going to go a little darker on the number 5 box or rectangle. All right. And then a little darker on the number 4. Then stump to blend it. So when it comes to your actual portrait that you do from a picture, it will not look like the one we did, right? This one was mainly to get your proportions down and figure where things fall and how to measure things out. When you do your own, it is obviously going to be way more detailed than this because we didn't focus so much on the detail for this one. You will be doing it on this one, okay? Which is why I'm going over the shading and the values right now with you. All right, so then just continue going down the spaces and start filling them in. Remember, each one should be getting lighter towards the left, and each one should be getting darker towards the right. I like to play it a little safe, which is why I start with the HB pencil first, and then I'll go in and use the B pencil after that. Okay. So when you're looking at your image that you're drawing of the portrait of the person, you should be referring to these numbers so that you know how dark or how light to make certain sections of your person's portrait. Okay. Jade, are you here? Yeah, Jade. Jade, are you there? All right. I'm going to use you as an example then, whether or not you want to, in regards to your portrait, Jade. How you choose a portrait is going to be important, or what picture you choose. Now, we have lines separating each space, right? Well, when you're shading your person or your person's skin or any facial feature, those lines should not be there, right? So it should look technically like a bar without any lines in it, all right? All right, so now I'm just adding little finishing touches so that's a little more gradual change between the numbers. And blending. And then that, right? So that's a pretty good gradual change from solid white, 0, to solid 6, right? Solid black. Now it looks a little reflective on here, but only because of the light. Okay, I'm going to write out the pencil scale. You guys do not need to do this, but I wanted to remind everyone, right? So the HB is in the center, right? So this HB number 2 pencils, do you guys remember what the H stands for? Or the B stands for? I feel like, Chris, do you remember what the H and B stand for? Nick, absolutely, thank you. H stands for hard. And B, does anyone remember what the B stands for? Chris, do you remember what the B stands for? So the B stands for black. All right, thank you, Chris. So the B stands for black, right? So remember how these pencils have numbers and letters on them, right? So B, anytime you see the B, that means it's dark black. So 4B. So remember we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So HB is dead in the center. It can go either way. Right? On the right side we have 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B. This scale can go, I've seen it go up to like 12, right? And same thing on this side, 1H, 2H, 3H, 4H, 5H, and so on, right? So I typically use a 2H, an HB, and I'll throw in like a 4B plus the stump. Okay, I'll put on there and stump. These are the 3 pencils I typically use when shading or doing something that has shading involved, right? Because I have a solid HB, right? This one. 2H if I want to make things lighter, and 4B if I want to start making things darker like I did with the 6, right? So you're going to be referring to this when you draw your portrait here, right? In the same manner, okay? So that's the pencil scale and the value scale. So this is the value scale, and this is the pencil scale, okay? So I know it might be a little hard, hopefully, to decipher between the two. So when I just say the number, I'm referring to this scale, the value scale. 0 being solid white, the paper, and 6 being solid black, right? When I'm referring to the pencils themselves, I will always add the letter with it. So I'll say, use a 2B or use a 2H, okay? And so on, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about in regards to the value scale and pencil scale. I'm going to